So I hope you have learned a lot of things in the past sessions. We have very distinguished speakers also. Similarly, this panel is a very important panel because we are going to talk about debt sustainability and fiscal management. So though the topic appears very heavy, but this is what we are doing. All of us are doing day in and day out, and which is going to help you also because you are also doing in some limited way at your own capacity, managing debt as well as how you are doing this fiscal consolidation and sustainability. So you see, as a state or as a nation, so debt is something which we use it for many purposes. So we use it for social sector purposes also, but we are also using it for the purpose of infrastructure development. So debt as a financing model, that is how states view debt. But over a period of time in the country, if you see that whether the debt we are taking, sovereign debt, whether it is sustainable, whether it is good for the economy or for the entity or the state which is taking, it's a debatable question which is there in the system for long. So Government of India, you know, has brought in this 𝐓𝐵M Act only for the purpose of ensuring that all of us are on the same page. And we are also not going into unsustainable debt, which plunges the economy also into crisis. So every state, we have enacted our own 𝐓𝐵M Act, and we are rigorously sticking to those targets which has been given by Government of India. And institutions like banks and regulator like RBI also is guiding and helping us in maintaining the fiscal discipline and other things with us. But how much debt is good debt? How much debt is essential for the economy is again depends from state to state. So let us hear from the panelists how they are viewing public debt. We are only talking about public debt, not the private debt which is being taken. So how the panelists are viewing this public debt and what are the suggestions they have for the organizations who are accessing debt and as a government who are accessing debt. And are we managing debt in a very sustainable way? Are we managing debt in a profitable way? Debt also can be managed in such a way that it doesn't hit the organizations or the state in a very big way. So without wasting much time, let us go to the panelists, distinguished panelists. So we'll be taking it one at a time. So I'll first pose my question to Mr. Shankar Rao. So you know 𝐴𝐵𝐺 is the rural sector bank for the state of Andhra Pradesh, newly come into existence after amalgamation of different banks. I was told during the break that you are having the second largest banking network in the state and with a lot of consumer base, predominantly rural consumers. So I just wanted to ask Mr. Shankar Rao, so how can regional banks, so we are dealing with other banks in a very large way, but how can regional banks help state governments as well as the state government entities in improving and managing this fiscal sustainability at the grassroots levels? So what are your thoughts on this? You can share with us.
Yeah, namaskaram. Actually, rural banks are predominantly located in rural and semi-urban areas. When coming to Andhra Pradesh Grameena Bank, the only bank in Andhra Pradesh now in rural segment, so having the largest network in the second largest bank in the Andhra Pradesh, having 1,351 branches, and we are planning in the next 2 years, 1,700 branches. So with this network, definitely RRB, particularly Andhra Pradesh Grameena Bank, is having highest role in financial management of the state also. So mainly the focus is on financial inclusion. So financial inclusion, the basic amenities like savings accounts and small business and insurance products, all these are coming under financial inclusion, and this is very important for the rural population and semi-urban population also. So 𝐴𝐵𝐺 is already taken up this financial inclusion in grassroots level. So thereby 𝐴𝐵𝐺 is enabling the rural population to avail the banking facilities, and thereby their credit utilization also increasing and the operational costs also decreasing. By innovatively we are giving the digitization also. So technology upgradation, technology adoption at rural areas also, 𝐴𝐵𝐺 has coming forward very innovatively, and many mobile banking and these internet banking facilities, lot of facilities through BCs also. So through BCs also we have reached the rural population. So this digitization also enable the rural population to cut the transaction costs. So thereby their financial position also will improve, and accordingly the burden of the state fiscal burden also will come down. Then coming to targeted credit. Next, our RRB is also planning to give the targeted credit like products. Like if you take agriculture sector, different types of products, MSME sector, different types of products, cluster-based approach, and many more products, target-oriented products we are going to give. So RRBs, if they give these type of target approached credits, rural people and semi-urban people, even RRBs also having branches in metros also. So this target approach credit is very beneficial to the population of our state, and this will enhance the credit. So thereby the infrastructure credit also will improve if we go for the associations and bodies. If any products are suitably with the help of the partnership of the private partnership or government partnership, if we design the products, so that will also enhance the infrastructure in the rural. So that is one thing, and other thing is financial literacy also. So RRBs, financial literacy camps we are conducting. So we are educating the rural poor. So they are aware of the products, they are aware of the credit utilization. So they are well managing their financial aspects. So thereby the government's role also we are taking in the rural areas. And coming to government sponsored schemes also, RRBs are playing a very important role in implementation at the implementation stage. If you take social insurance schemes or subsidy schemes, whatever the schemes government is implementing, we are part of it. And APGB is the second largest in Andhra Pradesh, will always take forward in the sustainability of financial aspects, where the fiscal burden will come down from the state government side. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. So he has rightly explained 2-3 concepts in his speech. One is that financial inclusion of the rural masses. So in Andhra Pradesh, I must thank all the banks, because you know that Andhra Pradesh is now predominantly rural, and we are slowly moving towards urbanization, and banks in the rural areas have done a lot of work in ensure that financial inclusion happens and equitable inclusion happens for all the rural customers. And I personally believe that if the bond between the rural customers and the banks strengthens and a lot of credit goes to them, definitely the role of government in providing that fiscal space, it definitely comes down. And actually, governments also can divert that much of fiscal space for infrastructure development. So when government actually spends more on social sector things because they are not able to access credit, then it directly affects the infra development. So I hope the involvement of banks, especially RRB, which is being exclusively now focusing on Andhra Pradesh, and able to meet the credit needs of the rural public, then automatically the states can focus or redirect their efforts on infra development. So thank you for that suggestion. So again, when we talk about banks in urban areas, so rural areas he spoke about it. So urban area is a big challenge, because rapid urbanization happens on its own. It's not that we are promoting urbanization. We have reached a stage when a middle class population grows in the state or in the country, automatically the urbanization comes. People pivot towards the urban areas where better opportunities are available. So there, the role of banks and the financial institutions, it's very important. And the role of municipal bodies, urban local bodies comes into play. So when, this is my question to Mr. Ritesh Kumar. So when urban local bodies, the pressure on urban local bodies to improve the civic infrastructure is very high. But their capacity to provide that infrastructure, it takes a lot of time for the banks, because again they have to go back to the public who pay for the same, where the government support is minimal. So it's very natural that they approach commercial institutions and banks. So how do you actually factor in all those, their existing debt structure and their capacity to pay and the compliances, all those things, when you look into the larger picture of funding infra in the urban areas.
Thank you, sir. So as far as one rider, I will put it, people are willing to pay if quality services or quality products are offered. So that's the outline. I will go with this thesis. But as far as municipal corporation is there, commercial banks can chip in direct funding also. So we do fund the project of if any projects of any commercial bodies comes, urban local bodies come, that also we finance. There are other methods also, like urban bodies can float the bonds, and then we can act as an intermediary there. So we can act as an intermediary, we can facilitate the rating part also, we can do post launch, of course we can distribute it also, post subscription of those funds, we can manage the cash flow, cash fund part also. So this is one part. Second part, sir, of course this is not directly related to it, but India is now emerging as a hub wherein huge funds are available with public to invest. One simple example is, as of now, 80 lakh crore of AUM is there with mutual fund. So I'm not telling you mutual fund money will flow into other parts, but that's the kind of money public is having or institution is having that has been used. As of now, in SIP, 30,000 crore of fund is going each month into SIP. So that's the kind of fund people are having, which can be put to use by facilitating, by giving these funds to municipal bodies. And of course, one part definitely is there that sustainability has to be there. So that fund has to be used in a proper way, and revenue generation has to be there from those funds, because debt financing, of course, is having some limit. We cannot go on debt financing to an infinite level. So of course, revenue generation is very important. If revenue generation is there, debt financing is also a way to go forward. That's why.
Thank you very much. We'll hold on to the thought that the debt financing will work only up to a certain limit, and we should also look at different models. We'll come back to you to discuss that further. So now I'll come to Mr. Rakesh Tripathi. I have heard him 2-3 times, and he is also helping us in restructuring our debt, or helping us in managing the state's debt with certain innovative solutions which RBI has brought in. So I like him to elaborate those solutions which he is propagating across the country, wherein the existing debt itself, it's not about new debt or anything, the existing debt itself can be better managed by the state and other institutions, and state definitely can take a lot of positives out of it, and their repayment burden and the interest burden may come down, compliance may increase, as well as the confidence of the investors or the lenders who actually lend to these institutions, state institutions, go up, and because of that, we may get some interest leverage. So over to you, Mr. Rakesh. I request you to just inform our audiences what are the initiatives RBI is taking in helping the other states to manage their debt sustainability. Thank you.
A very good afternoon to all of you. Namaskar, and thank you, Mr. Ross, for giving me this opportunity. So, when we talk about the state's debt management, it has to be looked at, the perspective of general government debt, both the center and the state, and what kind of, measures that the governments have taken to, manage the debt. Now, why do states, or for that matter, governments, borrow? Can they not live without raising resources through debt? As all of you know, India is a developing country. We do have that kind of, capital requirement, resource crunch. Many times your receipts are not as much as your expenditures are, and you are putting on a lot of expenditure on your capital, and, sometimes your committed expenditures are very high. You need that kind of fund, and obviously, the developing economy has to go and borrow from the market. So that borrowing per se is not a bad idea at all. Now, the problem is, how do you manage that? Can you keep on borrowing, or you borrow just only to repay the existing debt? And that's where the point of debt sustainability come into picture. What has been done by the central government, what is being done by the state governments? Is it like, states are not doing anything? The point is, yes, a lot of efforts have been made by them. And what is our role as, RBI? So just to make it very clear, statutorily, we have been given powers to be the debt manager to the central government, and we also entered into agreement with all the states. And that's why what Mr. Ronald was referring to, we are also the debt manager for the government of Andhra Pradesh. Now, what do we do actually is, manage the debt in a sense that what we go and tell them that, to what extent you can extend your debt in a sense that, you can repay that. The debt sustainability is an issue where you see, we need not have to go and read any literature. Just look around some of your neighboring countries, the kind of an experience that they had in recent years, and that will tell us what is this issue, how big is this issue. Now, how has India been insulated? If you look at India as a whole, the two things which come into very prominence in a sense that now what makes us different from the rest of the world, or at least majority of the emerging countries, is most of our debt is local currency denominated. So we don't borrow in foreign currency. State governments are not permitted, as per the constitution, they cannot go and borrow in foreign currency. But overall, even if I take into account Government of India, we don't borrow in foreign currency as much. So our foreign currency debt is less than 5%. And even if that domestically, issued debt, which is rupee denominated, that also held by the foreign investors who are known as foreign institutional investors of FPIs, they hold less than 3%. And that's a big thing, because if something happens globally, we are not going to be put into problem as much as other countries. Now, what otherwise government has done is, we have come out with a, Government of India has come out with a Fiscal Responsibility, Budget Management Act in an early 2005, and which actually stipulates what kind of debt they would like to have, what kind of fiscal deficit they would like to have. But more importantly, some of the states have actually enacted this act, FRL, at the state level, even before the central government. And Andhra Pradesh is also one of the states which has, in fact, all the states have enacted. So, constitutionally or legally, the states are already kind of, made up their mind that they want to manage the debt prudently. Today, India's combined debt is close to 82%, and some of the countries is much higher. Now, should we be very happy with this? No, because what the target that has been set by the government, when the 2018, the act was, amended, 𝐓𝐫𝐢, they said that we want to achieve or bring closer to 60%, which will be 40% for the central government and 20% close to the state government. So that way we have a long path to traverse from somewhere 82 to come down to 80. In terms of fiscal deficit, the target was close to 3%. The states combined, if I look at, the states are having their fiscal deficit less than 3%. Very good thing they are doing. I'm not going into the specifics of the individual states. Combined central government, because of the the COVID period and all that, the fiscal deficit went up. It is gradually coming down, and they've shown a kind of fiscal consolidation path. Now, coming very specifically to the states, as I said, the debt sustainability or the debt rollover risk becomes very high if you keep borrowing very short term, because you have to kind of think about repaying, and if you have used that money for some kind of a capital expenditure, you are not going to get your money from those kind of projects. So it will be very difficult to repay unless until you borrow fresh loan. Therefore, it makes sense for the states or for any kind of borrowing entity which is into the kind of a developing stage to borrow a little longer tenor. So some of the states have decided to borrow long tenor. Now, this is a kind of supply of the bonds, but actually somebody should be there to buy those bonds long term. And therefore, the role of RBI comes into picture, where we look at who are the other traditional, compared to the traditional investors, which the banks, like banks on my either side, sitting banks, they are statutorily required to invest in government securities. Who else is going to? Therefore, the long-term investors, pension funds, provident funds, insurance companies, they come into party. These entities typically want long-term bonds. And therefore, if the central government and the state government are issuing long-term bonds, you get a kind of a natural demand from these institutions, And when any product, when the demand is more, the price is going to be more. That means effectively the cost of borrowing for the states come down. So that's what actually happens. You go and more kind of demand you elicit, and there, in the process you bring down your cost. So I will just take a pause here, and then maybe there are other, when you have next question, I can also throw up on something, what else can be done by the states?
Thank you. So, from the state perspective also, we are also trying to work on the fiscal deficit and the revenue deficit, and as rightly pointed out, post-COVID, so when the fiscal deficit went up, and rightly so, because we wanted to do some stimulus to the economy, and with the support of RBI and the Government of India, as a policy level only, we had, consciously we had raised the fiscal deficit to fund the infra projects. Now we are also slowly bringing down the fiscal deficit at the macro level. But the support of the RBI in consolidating this debt, and also he also spoke about the rollover risk and all those things also we are working out. I am very happy to share that first time we also went for the reissuance of the papers also. As per his suggestion, last week we went for it, and it was hugely successful. So I'll again come back to Mr. Rao. So with specific to rural areas, is there any way, so we are now, banks are more than comfortable in partnering with the state level. At a subnational level, you are partnering. But we wanted the local bodies and the local organizations are like Mandal Parishads, Jilla Parishads, Sarpanchas like Gram Panchayats, or bodies like SHGs. So apart from the SHG funding they are taking as part of their institutional finance, is there any way where the local bodies themselves directly access the banks and take up infra or other development works in their local area? Is there any product you have, or is there any such sort of a thought process so that we can develop capacity also in the local areas, and also we can diversify the debt, which is all are consolidating at the state level?
Yes, sir. We are already having the products, what you said. One example I will tell you, farmers, producers, one product is there. So like that, if you take the private-public partnership in a small scale at village level, because large scale PPP is not that much effective in rural villages. So village level, at least 50 lakhs to 5 crore projects, if we encourage the local bodies, panchayats, and they can maintain the assets like maybe the sanitation assets and water bodies, as you said. So these things, if they come forward, and with the oversight of the, state government also, definitely banks can come forward, and the viable, credit can be designed, sir. So innovatively, now we have to banks also, from traditional finance to innovatively we have to think, and where risk alignment also we have to take up, so that definitely these infrastructure projects also we can finance, more particularly ABGB.
Okay, thank you. So if this question was specifically the context, say for example, a Gram Panchayat wants to solarize all their homes completely. So if that is the case, PM Surya Ghar is already there. There's a scheme available wherein a line of credit is also extended to all those people. But if a Gram Panchayat themselves come forward and say, as a Gram Panchayat as a whole, I will enter into a loan agreement with the bank wherein you fund for all the, where all the houses are solarized. So it's a win-win situation for the Gram Panchayat, for the banks, as well as to the public. So I request all the banks also to make note of it. I'm very happy that the banks are already thinking in that way, and it is going to help the rural economy in a big way.
Yes, sir. That revenue sharing arrangement also has to be done, escrow management.
Yes.
So these things will address the issues.
Yeah, thank you. So I'll come back again from the urban perspective. So more or less, so we held a thought at that time. So how much debt? So debt sustainability also, to a particular certain extent only we can go for debt. So what is your advice? So there are some young municipal commissioners who are present here who are also part of this conclave. So in what way, any other innovative product you are having wherein a sustainable way of debt financing the urban local bodies can access? If a single urban local body cannot access funds, can some 4 or 5 urban local bodies form together make it into a pooled account, and they can access some sort of finance from the commercial banks. What are your thoughts on this?
Fine. Thank you, sir. So of course, for local urban bodies also, we are having various products. One definitely is this cash flow based funding. So whatever is their cash flow, and then there is something called cash management also. We can also manage the cash in an effective manner, in timely manner. So whatever time gaps are there, that we can manage, and then based on the cash flow of the urban bodies, we can go for funding also. So that's one way. Second, sustainability part, if we can have a tie-up with urban corporation bodies also for funding, like you told, this Suryaghar and all those things can definitely be done. And in one kusum scheme is also there. That also we can fund. So sustainable environmental building, environmental basis, we can have a tie-up with local electricity bodies also for financing of those things. So those things we can always prepare.
So thank you. The municipal commissioner here can take note of whatever he has said. So the funding mechanism, it's up to us how innovatively we do, and then we approach banks, and they are always cooperative. They are willing to look into the various options, and they are also willing to give new products if it is sustainable. So finally, I'll again come back to Mr. Rakesh, and it will be a final question before we open it up for discussion. So you have dealt with many states also now in terms of this fiscal debt management, debt sustainability in a more in particular. So what do you think that the state should do in terms of capacity building? Because our understanding of all these concepts and then applying them in a real life scenario, whether it may be a debt which is taken by the state or a debt which is taken by an state entity. So what sort of capacity building we should have, and at what level we should have this capacity building so that they can understand these concepts and they apply it from now onwards rather than thinking later and ruminating over it. Okay, thank you.
Thanks. So, the finance per se seems to be a little kind of, complicated to most of the people who come. So one way of, addressing this issue will be ensure that the people who are posted to the finance department, be at whichever kind of scale or stage, they continue for a little longer period there. So they get used to the concepts or understand, because I understand, typically finance will be the nerve center. For like in the morning also we heard that, secretary was talking about that we want to have some projects, but finance department says that, not enough money is there. So whichever project you are talking about, whichever area you want to spend, whichever ministry wants to do or department, ultimately they have to come to the finance department. So therefore the finance people have to be fully aware of the kind of, not only the fiscal situation that the state is going through, but also the money wherefrom it, it can generate on a sustainable basis. 2, 3 things, very simple way I would, if I can just talk about is, first is, the difference between cash management and debt management. So these two are not the same thing. So, cash, that is the day-to-day cash requirement cannot be met through a debt. Debt is more supposed to be taken for creating a long-term asset or for typically what we call as meeting your capital expenditure. Most of the states today are not revenue surplus. That's a fact, kind of, for various regions. So obviously a part of your borrowing goes toward meeting your revenue expenditure. Then the next question comes is to what extent we can, bring down our revenue expenditure. Now, committed expenditures, which are your salaries, pension, and all, the subsidies and other things, interest payments, they form part of your capital committed expenditures. Can we reduce it to an extent where, money is available for the capital projects to be undertaken? Now, these are the basic kind of, I'm saying at the macro level. At the micro level, especially when you are talking about, the staff, how to make them kind of, the capacity building for them. We regularly conduct programs for the states, individually also we do, and also, combined, we do programs in our training establishment. But I also understand that may not be just enough, if you are talking about maybe a 2-day program or a half-day or 1-day program. Continuously, staff members who are present, who are posted in the finance department, they have to keep trying upgrading themselves. There are various, information which is available on our website. We try to give as much information as possible, try to interact with the team, who are dealing from the other side. Basically, you have to demystify these concepts, get into ultimately what you are trying to do is typically in any commercial market, when you are selling a product as a seller, you want to get the best price, means the highest price, and the buyer wants to buy it at the lowest price. When you, as an issuer, you are a seller of a government security. Government security is a product. You are selling in the market. As a seller, you want to have the best price. Inversely, you want to borrow at the lowest cost. A buyer would like to have at the lowest price. Now, your product can fetch you a higher price if you can elicit more response or more buyer to your counter. And that is where the role comes. When the state or any, for that matter, when I'm using the state as a loose word, I'm including the central government also, the state government, or for that matter, let's say, third tier structure, local government also. Transparency is the key. Like when I buy a product to go to the shop, I want to get the complete information about the product which I am buying. If the shopkeeper is able to tell me everything, then I have the trust. I say, okay, fine, I'm ready to buy at this price. So transparency, whatever the budget documents, information of budget borrowings, everything is properly disclosed. Second, the money which is coming, what kind of projects that is going to be financed. Now, then comes the buyer or the lender. You get an idea that, okay, these are the kind of buyers who are willing to buy my product, and I will customize my product to their interest, to suit their requirement. And that is the point which I said at the beginning. Typically, banks who are the largest buyers of the government securities, because of their ALM requirement, they will be hesitant in buying long-term papers. So they typically buy short-term papers, but they will buy the papers. There are the other players who will be buying. So mutual funds have come. Now, somebody was referring to huge money is going into the mutual funds. Mutual funds invest in government securities. Then what I said about the pension funds, provident funds and all. What we have also started 2 years back, and I am sure many of you do not know, and all of you, if you belong to Andhra Pradesh, if I ask any one of you, just raise your hand and say that Andhra Pradesh government issues a government security, state government security every Tuesday, let's say they come and participate. Have you ever thought of buying a government security of Andhra Pradesh government? And if at all, how can you buy a government security? Most of you will be clueless about that. It's not something a fault with you, because generally speaking, government securities market is considered to be an institutional investor market. But we are a country of 140 crore people, or more than that. If we today popularize government securities issued by Government of India or a state government, if I belong to this state and I want to contribute to the state's development by buying a government security, that means I am actually willing to lend my money to the state government. Where should I go and buy this government security? And for that purpose, we have come out with a retail direct platform, which is now available on your mobile phone also, where you can very easily, seamlessly, without paying any extra brokerage charge or anything, you can go and buy any government security, including the security issued by your state, or for that matter, any other state, central government security, and seamlessly you do that. So why are we doing this? There are challenges for the retail to buy, but the fact is, this only brings a lot more stability. This is going to help the issuers, the government, to bring down their cost, because there will be a big investor base which will emerge. If not today, maybe tomorrow. And if that demand picks up, then the issuer will find it, okay, fine, banks are there, other institutional investors are there, but also the retail guys are there. So that is what it has to be done. Second is you talked about the capacity building. I would also say, like you have been there, I know Principal Secretary, he was in Ministry of Finance, Government of India. People who have got that kind of a knack of trying to learn the things from the basic. If from the top, if people are willing to learn, I think it makes a huge difference people down the line. And if you participate in the capacity building programs, obviously it just galvanizes the entire set of people who are working with you. If my boss is willing to spend so much of time in learning all these basic concepts, then I also have to do. So that is what I think. You saw the path, everybody else will follow that.
Thank you, Mr. Rakesh. So the takeaways, he just started with state debt, debt sustainability, and he ended with personal finances also in whether from RBI, which is available in your own mobile phone, where you yourself can also participate in the growth story of any of the state or the country. So I hope you all will see this question I specifically posed to him is because a lot of finance people are also over here. And the importance of upgrading oneself in the concepts which are ever changing in the financial sphere. And every concept learned, it's going to help the state in a particular way. So in personally also now he has given it, let us explore all those things and enhance our capacities. And I sincerely thank all the panelists who have taken time and who have come over here. And also we discussed all these things have a thread. Morning when Suresh sir spoke, he spoke about the challenges he faced in the urban sector and the funding. So, and some solutions have come from what the panelists have given. Similarly, when Krishna Babu sir spoke, he spoke about the challenges he faced in the logistics sector. So those things also will be covered in our panels so that there is a structure to all these panels and how they are being presented. And overall thread is also there, and I hope you all will get benefited. And I personally thank all the panelists who have joined us on the stage. Thank you very much. Thank you.